And welcome back to the shop. Out here we're getting posted up. As you can see, we got some disassembling done, including the paint. This mower deck here is down to its bare bones, if you will. Got everything disassembled. What little bit there was, really just the bearings and whatnot. Took it over, got sandblasted. See really what we got down in the nitty gritty of it. You can see you got a little bit of rust spots. See the daylight through there. Took the serial tag off. Obviously we'll reattach that once it's painted. That way everything behind it's painted behind it, and then put it on and it'll protect it for years to come. This is kind of why I wanted to see it get sandblasted before I fix what little rust I did see. Some of this stuff is flaky to where it's fine until you sandblast it, and then after you sandblast it, you get this little spot. It's thin, but it's there, but obviously when you hit it with a sandblaster, it goes through, which is fine because we can fix it now, but after it's powder coated or something, you can't really do that. So you can see I left the front roller brackets on. The reason I'm doing that is because I'm going to space this bracket for the draft arms off of this. So obviously we could tell this was pretty rotten before, but it's pretty bad all the way around it, including here. There's a weld seam vertically here. So what I'm going to do is cut there and go up here to get all this out, and come down probably around here, put a new piece in, and what I'll do is I'll leave this attached until I do so, and then use my fireball shims to go off of here to here, get this in the correct spot, and then weld it on here, and then take this off and fix the rust that's behind it. With doing some of this stuff, you kind of want to think ahead, because you'll back yourself in a corner and you can't really get back out of it. You know, there's little pinholes and stuff that we can just plug weld and grind smooth. It won't be a big deal, but there are quite a bit of holes here. This is this weld's broke here. We gotta squeeze that back and re-weld it. This whole piece is kind of like this, where it's super thin, so you could just patch this little area in here, but in the backside it's pretty well toast. So try to follow the basically original manufacturing process, where there's a weld seam here, short stitch here, and a couple down here. So what I'll probably end up doing is replace that whole piece, just so that way it's that way at the end it really looks like the factory put that in, because I'm doing it the same way they did. But surprisingly, this whole top section is really pretty in good shape, other than a little spot here. Now on the inside though, which is again kind of why I wanted to do it, the pitting doesn't bother me too much. It's not too crazy, and I'm not really mowing with it. So you can see the backside of where those small pinholes are, but the main part is that piece there is pretty well toast. So again, we'll probably end up just remaking the entire thing out of the correct thickness of metal and weld it in, just similar to what the original manufacturer did. It's not anything too crazy, but like you can kind of really see it's definitely out there. So we'll start cutting and grinding here, and I'll take you along the way for that. I'm not sure exactly what we're going to do for filming, but eventually this thing will be better than new, and we'll go from there. I did get, you can see what's left of the stud that holds on the top cover we made. That's what's left of it. So all those we will get put back in. I got new ones, so we'll cut those out, and obviously they're supposed to be a lot longer than that, so got new ones, stuff like that. You know, this is a good example too, that, you know, oh, it's just a mower deck. which is fine, and everybody likes to put dollars amounts of stuff, but you know, if somebody says, you know, well, they're selling that mower deck for, say, you know, $1,000 or $1,500, well, if that's crazy money. However, if you go through this process and put, you know, a shop rate to pay somebody as a restoration shop to restore this mower deck, think of all the time and labor and not even materials to restore that mower deck. Well, it's going to cost a whole heck of a lot more than that $1,500. You know, $1,500 isn't even going to really do the labor. And you say something as simple as this, but also the time it takes to restore this versus an entire tractor, you're talking a whole lot more closer than the same than you would really think, because really, like, when you're paying for labor, this is the stuff that takes a lot. Really, I'll have, you know, $200 or $300 in materials in, say, restoring this mower deck as of right now, which is fine, but, you know, I'm going to have probably 100 to 150 hours just in doing this, and that's slowly over time picking it up as I can. That's not paying a restoration shop that says, you know, I need it done by now. So, you know, just a note, just because I know a lot of guys have talked about that here of late with, you know, everything going crazy pricing wise and whatnot, but when you're paying somebody else to do something like this, the bills and the costs involved with that really do go crazy comparatively to what you could just purchase one for. But that also shows that, you know, nice original pieces that go for a lot more than a restored piece is because you don't have to go through all this hassle to do it, and it's original the way the factory did it. So just food for thought and something that I enjoy talking about. And if anybody has any comments about that, put it down below in the comments, and let's have a chat about it. All right, so as you can tell by all the grinding dust, we're making some progress, I think. Got a big hole here, so can't see through it. That's always positive. I'm slowly realizing that this is kind of a silly project, and while it's a good learning experience, for me to do all this rust repair, I could have just probably made, there's a seam here, which is what this piece is for, to cover up. I could have probably just made this entire half, considering I have to do all the stuff down there, that in the same amount of time as what it took me just to do this. So good learning experience nonetheless, but basically did it in two pieces. So I used the factory weld seam here to roughly about here, put the bend in it, which luckily matched the radius with the original deck, which was kind of important. Welded it in here, ground it all smooth, and then came in and did this piece. This piece was a little tricky because of this overlap. I kind of had the choice of either cutting the whole overlap off and putting a new one on, or cutting it from underneath and pushing it down somehow. Luckily I was able to do that, so I could keep, the idea is to keep as much of the original metal as possible. It doesn't really matter, no, not really, but that's the hope in the eyes of restoration. So I did it to about here because all that was pretty weak and pitted. So welded it all in here, left the original weld seam visible, and then re-welded it back to the original spots where it was. So again, after it's all powder coated and whatnot, it should resemble the original factory doings. So really this whole section is good. I did cut the square holes here, inserting the video here. So I used my iron worker to punch the correct size square holes for the 5/16 carriage bolts here again to replicate how they would have done it. You don't need to do that, but it is nice to have. It's a lot quicker that way. So just showing it kind of a stopping point just to show where this section is. I mean, it's taken me almost most of a full day just to get this far. With that being said, I'm going to do this side next. I'm going to try to get this half of the mower deck kind of done in its entirety. That way I can work on this side next. So yeah, so I double checked, everything bolts up here and lines here. I left these on obviously to locate this, which is fine. However, these are all wallered out. This should not happen. So I'm gonna find a nice set, or either make a nice set for this that aren't wallered out. I think it'll be easier and faster than repairing these. But I wanted to leave these on to locate this hole and this tab. So it looks really goofy because everything's offset with that tab and that tab, but these are where they are supposed to be. So that's where we're at. We'll keep plugging away at it and get this side fixed up and keep on moving all the other spots because there's plenty to do. All right, so we got most of the, well, my right side and your right side, but the tractor's left side pretty well knocked out. Obviously got this done, but all over here got all the corner done. So I just wrapped all the way back here because it was so pitted on the back side that this really wasn't much to weld to. So this all came out real good. Cut this off completely. This was broke off down here. The welds just broke, which is pretty common on these things. So I re-welded it out, straightened it the way it should be, welded it back on exactly where it was, filled in this piece. This back here, I was gonna just replace the whole thing, but it was easier just to put a seam and grind it smooth. The reason being that all this material was actually still good, surprisingly. So just this little patch piece should be good to go. So really, this side is good to go. This side over here, little spot here, is on the front, is really all that's here on the front. However, back here is kind of the issue. So little piece in here, and this whole corner is kind of a pain in the butt. So I'm not sure exactly how I'm going to do it, but we will figure it out. My next piece that I'm going to do is this piece back here. I got it bent up pretty darn close, and you can see, I'm sure somebody in the comments will say, oh, you didn't show the backside. Oh, how are you going to know this thing's a pile of junk? Come here. So here's the backside. Left kind of where the welds that were exposed, left them the way they were supposed to be. Grounded all smooth. I would love to Concord, like, metal finish this stuff to 100% perfect, but for one, this isn't a Concord car. Two, nobody's really paying me to do it, and like, if they really wanted me to, you'd have a $10,000 mower deck, and again, I would probably just make this whole piece new. So with that, really, I'm making it as close as I can to nice, but also it's the underside of a mower deck. A, no one's probably going to ever use this mower deck again. B, even if they did, it would be more than functional. So I want it to be nice and ground all the welds smooth and whatnot, but at the same time, I don't want to spend my entire life just, you know, making the underside of a mower deck perfect. So there's a certain limit you have to stop yourself with metal work, and I feel like I'm at a happy medium considering I'm already doing the extent that I am just for a mower deck. This is the next piece. You can obviously see a lot of rough spots there. So I got this bent up. I got a lot of tweaking to do, but I rolled it in the plate roller and then bent it with the press brake there. What I might do is weld it in the center where it should be, and then really just bring these back to where they should be, tack it, and weld it where it was. But you can see both sides are pretty eaten out. Like I said, it was just easier to do the whole thing and be done. So really, once this is done, this is the back side here. This is pretty bad, so I'll probably cut out a bigger section than needed, but get rid of this pitting, and then this little corner in here. So we're moving right along here, and should have this mower deck knocked out at some point. Once the rust repair is done here in this video, we will go on to a lot of the small details and kind of mock everything up 100% before we send it off to powder coat. But hope everybody's enjoying it, and we'll keep on moving. All right, so we got this back piece done. Cut all the junk out, bent up a new piece. It was a little tricky to get these radiuses to match the original, so I rolled it, and that's fine, and I matched the center and really this radius as well. But when you do this bend, it kind of springs and moves, so welded the center and kind of pushed it together in place, and it came out really well. You can see I welded it kind of right where the original was. It's always fun when you're doing this because you spend all this time and effort, and you know, at the end of the day you're tired and beat, and you look down at what you did and it looks just like it was, or obviously not rusty, but you spent all this time just to make it look just like what it was. So we'll keep moving here. I got this piece done, go on to the next piece, probably do this little spot, and then really just this corner and up front yet, and we'll keep moving and see what we can do. Alrighty, this thing is whooping my butt, but we're whooping back. So this was a little corner, was an absolute mess. Got it real cleaned up, not that rust off. I went up around it by just replacing this. This piece is structurally just fine. Instead of making that piece and messing around, it's just fine the way it is. There's nothing really too crazy. This spot and this spot right on the 90-degree bends, I got that all filled in. I was able to do it without actually replacing too much, just patching in little pieces, so that was really nice. At least with better products is you're not putting in weld seams where there wasn't, that sort of thing, in places you can't really grind out. And in the front, I did the same thing. I patched in a little spot instead of replacing the whole piece. Again, structurally, it's just fine. In the front, it's actually a lot smoother across there because of that. So that all came out really well. Now, really, the deck shell is kind of done, except for I knocked out the original studs. The original studs, as you can see, were broke off, and so I knocked them all out. The 4 in the front for the front of the cover, and then the 3 in the back for the back of the cover. I actually was able to find the original weld-in studs for this, so it's the correct size and has the very similar head diameter. So I'm going to put them down through, just spot weld tack them around, which should be enough for what we're doing. That's basically how they did it. Originally, I think there's a machine that when you like push these through, it will actually take the 3 nubs and apply electricity through them, causing them to weld to whatever you're pushing them against. I don't have that, and I don't think it's really worth doing. This is the underside of the deck. You'll never see it, and it will be as correct as I can get it. So that's what we're doing. One last step here. I'll get it flipped back over and sorted out, and I'll show you the finished product here. Otherwise, it should be looking pretty good here, and looking forward to getting this thing done. All right, so I think we're through the thick of it now. Everything's looking really good. This whole side is mostly reconstructed. I mean, it's pretty darn new as far as that goes, but it's pretty smooth, and I'm excited to see this thing in color and all prettied up. This is the top cover we made before. If you haven't watched, check out the previous episodes. Got this side all fixed up. Top cover fits on really nicely with all the new studs, so that looks great. That was very nice to be able to find those original style studs, weld them in, and looks just like it should. You can see where I fixed some of the rust holes in here. That's all nice and clean. In here is pretty bad. That's all fixed up now. Brand new top cover really helps it, but it fit prior and it fits again, so that's at least a good thing. Over here, this whole end was patched in, and it really looks nice with this being on and actually welded on down here and nice and straight. So really, at this point, it's mostly going to be taking the internals apart, all the bearings and stuff, and kind of remocking it up, because some of the tensioners and stuff under the cover, all the stuff in here is what I like to make sure I have all working and everything's moving and whatnot while we have it here in bare steel, because if I need to fabricate anything or even modify anything, now's the time to do it. Really shouldn't be too big of a deal, but I'd much rather figure it out now than later. What we'll do is get all that done in the next episode, and then after that we'll get it powder coated, and then we'll have another episode of bolting it back together. So thanks for watching, and we'll catch you on the next one.